All right. See, guys, the Talmud is all about Metatron. If you can't find Metatron in it, you're not looking right. That's the secret. All right. That's the thing that I help my study partner with. I can find the Metatron in the whole thing, anything. All righty. All right, Brandon, let's do we'll turn this back on here. Get everybody back. All right. Get your in your Facebook right here. In your Facebook.
Hit record?
Yeah. Go ahead and hit record. Okay. Right now I'm going to do I'm going to give you some insight here. On
what page are we on?
We are on 37. We are on page 37. All right. So once we get into the Shirodic structure, I want to explain something to you just a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to look at geopolitics, religious geopolitics. Okay, geopolitics, religious geopolitics. We have Judaism in the middle, which are the Jews, right? And then on one side we're going to have Christianity. On one side we're going to have Islam. And since everything is backside, even Judaism's exiled Judaism right now, it's Torah B, it's not Torah A. Here's what happens. We have Islam on one side. Now, Islam is all about the prophets. They are prophet. They are tradition, handed down. Prophet. You got to believe the prophets. Islam is surrender to the teacher, to the prophet. We don't surrender to the teacher, the prophet Moses, or we'd all study Talmud. Because Talmud is the mind of Mashiach, Moses, Metatron, the whole thing. Right? Now, Christianity is all about oral tradition. Right? This is all about and it's about Messiah, and it's all about image, all right? Because what happened? It bifurcated out. We have Netzach and Hod. All right? This is going to be Islam and Christianity. If you took all of the Jesus and all the imagery, all the flesh, all of the person, the humanity, the persona of that, and the Mashiach aspect, and you added it to the prophet, if you combined them, you would have almost perfect Judaism. Think about it. You would have at least an image, because God doesn't say, I don't have an image. Because Adam Kadmon is he made Adam Harishon in his image and in his likeness, right? So we know there's some kind of an image, and in the Sephirotic structure here, we're fixing to get into it. All right? It's not that he has eyes, hands, nose, or whatever, but yet as it filters through, there has to be an image on the screen. Christianity is fixated with that. That's God. You see? But they don't believe any, and the Messianics too, they don't believe any of the oral tradition. No Talmud, no Zohar, no Mishnah, no nada. And for a matter of fact, a lot of Jews don't. Right. All right? They just throw it all out. All right? Well, Islam says, no, that's all there is tradition and prophet and this and this and this is very, very structured. All right? So really, that's the fractal fractions of what happened in Judaism at the Ot, right? You get the bifurcations. At Abraham, it bifurcated in Ishmael and Isaac, and then at Isaac it bifurcated again at Esau and Jacob. You just see it how it's splitting. But these are the two tails of the Leviathan that come back around. All right? These are the two tails of Leviathan. And so what do we have? What do we have with what do the Christians claim with Jesus? Not what do we have, but what do they claim with Jesus? Oh, he's a priest. He's the high priest in the order of Melchizedek, right? See how they got Metatron? They got the whole thing convoluted. We're gonna bring it back all together here. And then we have a kosher image. So what's the second commandment? God's saying, don't put any other images on my face, on my panim. So until you realize God, and until you have connected your image with God's image, whatever that is for you, that's the whole Metatronic process. Elijah, Sandalphon, Moses, just keep on going up. Boom, 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 boom. You're going to get to Adam in the garden. What does that look like? Whatever it looks like. And then that image is only the refractal or reflective image of Adam Kadmon. So we have to be image conscious. Everybody's image conscious. I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too skinny, I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too that, yada, yada, yada. Right? Everybody's worried about what they look like. All right? But nobody is interested to know God, what it looks like. And the only way to know what God looks like is to know how God thinks. And how his attributes come through. And this is the secret of this piece right here. If you have no Talmud, you have no prophets. If you have no prophets, you have no Metatron. If you have no Metatron, you have no image. You have no image of God. No imagination of God. You see? Image comes from the word imagine. So I want to imagine what God is like. The only way to imagine what God is like is to try to figure out how he thinks. This is the difference between choice and will. Okay? We don't have free will until we think like God thinks. Then that's the will of God. Then our will is his will. In other words, we're doing what he says. Everything else is just a choice. All right? I can't use the force, which is will. I can't shut that door because I want that door shut. God can. So when we do what he says in the earth, that is the will of God, then that's your will. So that's how we line up, and now we become the face of God. Now God has an image. These men were called Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, David, etc. Solomon, you see. That is the image. If images were that big of a deal, then why did Solomon have all those images in the temple? He had cherubim and angels and lions and cows and sheep and all these different gold engraven images. Because it was in union. He's in the Hall of Fame. It don't matter if you're looking at it from the Hall of Fame. It doesn't apply there because you're looking at it from God's point of view. All right? Now, God can only know himself through you, his distal image. All right? That's the only way. There's a piece in Kings. There's a piece here in Kings 19:7. And the angel of Hashem turned to him a second time. Let's back up. 19:5. 1 Kings 19:5. He lay and slept under a solitary rattan tree. And behold, an angel was touching him and said to him, "Get up and eat." Now, if you look at the previous verse, that rattan tree is there. This is the, Rav Vali says, this is the tree of death. And one of them's male and one of them's female. It has both, polarity. Tree of death, tree of life. You got to have one, you got to have the other. But why is this angel here is Metatron? Now, we know Elijah is Sandoff on. Why is he touching him? Because Elijah, in the previous chapter, previous couple chapters, he did something. Of course, we know Elijah's a Keruv, he's a Malach. A boy was dying. And he touched him, he laid on him, he touched him, and he came back to life. Kid's name was Jonah. What's happening here? Elijah says, my soul is to die. So he laid under this tree of death, and Metatron touched him. We know from the previous story that a transfer of Ruach from Elijah to Jonah happened. That's why Jonah became a prophet. When Metatron touches you here, what happens? You become Metatronic. And this was the whole sequence of events that was preparing Elijah to be taken and to become the feet of Metatron, basically. All right? So there has to be an image, there has to be flesh, it has to be able to touch. So when we study this pharaotic structure, what are we studying? We're studying the image and the filter system and the attributes that is eventually going to come down from Atzilut to Berea through Yetzirah to Asiya to you. Therefore, therefore the Torah writes in metaphors: God's eyes, God's ears, God's nose, God's right arm, God's left arm, God's right leg, God's left leg. He doesn't have any of that, but he does through you. Okay? So, is everybody ready to go? If you'll look on page 37. 10.9. The Sphirot are the most basic models of God's creative power. The Sphirot constitutes the inner structure and makeup of the universes. And we've studied the universes. Through the Sphirot, God interacts with the universes. This is how he interacts. It's a bridge. It's an interface between God and creation. Nothing in the universe takes place except through this medium of spherotic structures. The Sphirot, however, are not God. They are blima, nothingness. Now there's an atom, blia'al, which is this is basically the nakash, okay? Now, second paragraph. The Kabbalists say that the most basic qualities of human emotion are fear and love. There are two things. You either love what you're doing or you hate it or you fear it. You know, those categories of emotions. Last sentence in that paragraph. They correspond to 7. There's 10 Sphirot, but there's the Hesed, Guvurot, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. These are the 7 lower Sphirot. That's why there's 7 days of the week. Okay? Man's mental faculties as well are a reflection of the same intellect God used to create the universe. This means that man has the ability to fathom the fundamental laws and logic of creation. People tell you, do not study Kabbalah because you'll go crazy. Kaplan said right here, oh no, you got the ability to study it. Mm-hmm. Why? Because God did it, and you are just an image of God. Therefore, you should be able to do it. These faculties correspond to higher Sphirot, which is Chokmah, wisdom, Bina, understanding, and the quasi one that we don't use very much, which is the At, which is knowledge. When you have understanding, and when you have wisdom, if you put them together, that's called knowledge. Knowledge is da'at. Knowledge is knowing. Knowledge is union. Be it eating, be it thinking, be it sexual, doesn't matter. Union is union. All right? And what is and that's Leviathan. What is lost is knowledge. Nobody has knowledge. They just, oh, I understand what that's saying. Oh, really? Do you have wisdom on it? Oh, of course I do. Do you have knowledge on it? No. So, the highest faculty in man, however, is will. If you have that, your pencil right there, underline where it says will. This is 1, 2, 3, fourth line down. The highest faculty in man, however, is will. Because I want you to put choice right there. It is his will, I want you to put choice right there, that he ultimately decides how he will think. Because they wrote the word decides there, that means choice. You have the choice to ultimately choose how you will think and how you will feel and how you will act. You don't have the will to do that. You don't have the will to act good. You have the choice to act good. It is within his choice that he is able to rise above internal pressures or external circumstances. You have the choice to better yourself, to get better, to be better, to do better, to learn more, etc. Man's choice is thus said to correspond to the highest Sefirot of the crown. Now, right here, you may want to versus will to. I want to achieve the highest level possible. All right? During my want to, I'm going to have choices I'm going to have to make. If I can get to where I can align my thinking up to the way God is thinking, now that's will. Because you're only going to do what he says, which is the will of God. Therefore, your will and his will will be the same. If one were to attempt to describe God, it would be tempting to say he's pure will. Okay? It would be will, since this is the underlying basis of human faculties. Now, I kind of disagree with that, but we'll let it be said. This is the meaning of what the Sefer Yitzhak says when it states that the Sefirot are 10, not 9. For if we were to say God is will, then Keter would be identical to God. And only 9 would remain. But since there are 10 Sefirot, then even will is nothing more than a Sephirah. It is greatly inferior to the Creator. The Sefer Yitzhak warns 10, not 11. This is to teach that God himself, infinite being, is not even included among the Sefirot. And then you would have to have 11 if you were included God. So here's a problem I see. If they're saying God is pure will, and will is Keter, but God's not included in the Keter, then you can't say God's pure will. They just contradicted himself. But that's okay. We know what they're meaning. What they're meaning is that if God thinks it, it's done. So be it. What we have to do is choose to do right, and then it happens. Right? I can't sit here and use the force to do anything. I can't will anything to happen. But if I use the formulas of God and I pray hard enough and I stimulate God hard enough, I could ask him to make his will be done. We'll use his will. And then if his will is what I choose to do, then he has let it be my will. But you have to be tzaddik. You have to align your thoughts with God. And you have to be working on a plane, because he is not going to transgress his own laws and commandments. Gravity being one. I wish I could fly. I will myself to fly. No. God would have, we have an issue there. Okay? So, I'm not going to read a bunch of this anthropomorphisms for you because y'all can read. But I will read a little bit here because we have touched on this. In many places, the Bible speaks of God as if he's a human body and shared human traits. Countless verses we find. God has eyes, God has ears, God has a hand. He said he has to see, hear, smell, speak, walk with God, and Noah walked with God, right? Or Enoch walked with God, we see these things, will, wisdom, truth, goodness, mercy, justice, strength, and even emotions such as anger. And Elohim's anger was stirred with Moses, or his anger was stirred with the Arab Ra, whatever. All right? All of these attributes are used to describe God. Now flip over to the essence of the Sphirot. So, if we can look on my board here, I'm going to kind of move out of the way. Maybe I can get one where y'all can see closer. All right, terminology. What I have here, you see how I've got this light. This is how the Sphirot overlap. Okay? So, Keter is always attached at the level of Teferet. Da'at is over Yesod. And then the Malchut's on the back of that one. And so, as you see, the Malchut of Atzilut, which is the crown, is the crown of Keter of Yetzirah. You see? And she crowned him on the day of his wedding. Okay? Now, since I have all these stuck, I'll confuse people. Let me take these apart. Sphirot. Okay. Now, this is the right side for me. I think it's the left side for y'all. But this is my right hand. So, I'm going to use this. It's actually going to work out good because this is going to be the right side of the Sphirot, and this is going to be the left side. Let me write that down. Right, left. See this? Right, left. Okay. Now, anytime you're looking at a Sphirot, the right side is always going to be on your right. Why? Because everything has fallen on the back side of God. You are only getting the back. Moses says, "Show me your glory." All right, sit in this cliff right here and I'll show you my backside. Right? All right? Because you can't take the front. Too much. So, it's like looking at an x-ray. You always put the right on the right side. You're looking at the back side of the patient. Now, if we drew a line right across here, right like that, and we just talked about these three Sphirot, Keter, Chokmah, Bina. Okay? Keter's the top, all right? And Chokmah is going to be wisdom, and Bina is going to be understanding. And you can see that Da'at right here is broken because there's not much knowledge. If you put these two together, you have got knowledge. Okay? But that's where everything's shattered. This term, as you will see coming up, is called Mohim. If I made a little arch right here, this is the head, this is the brain. Mohim means the brain. Right brain, left brain, middle brain, or pineal gland. Peniel. And Jacob named that place Peniel. Okay? That's Da'at. Okay? This is why they put the tefillin right here, because they're trying to go straight through the midbrain, to right here. They're trying to have knowledge, making union of wisdom and understanding. So, if we look at the bottom 7 right here, all right, these are the bottom 7. If we cut off, which we never want to do, if we just block out for a second the Malchut, this is Malchut right here, this is the kingdom, this is earth. If we block that out, you will see there are 6 in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The term for that is called the midot. And a good way to remember it is the word middle. Midot, middle. Kind of a play on the word there. So that's the midot. So when you hear me say the mohin of Zah, you know I'm talking about the brain of Zah, of Zeranpin. Or the midot of Zah, you know I'm talking about this. Now, the 7 is generally considered when the midot, but most of the time when it's used in the sentence, it's talking about the 6. This is Yesod. All right? Now, let's go over the Shiro. Keter, Hokmah, Bina. This one here, Hesed, Guvurot or Gevurah, Teferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut. Now, in Torah, each one of these has a person's name. And for the sake of this class, I'm only going to give you 1 for this one. We're going to call this a Recon Pin. Keter. A Recon Pin. Now, it's got a bunch of more names too, because we ain't going to get into it. Now, this one is Abba. This one is Ima. So, when the Holy One says, let us make man in our image and our likeness, there's your us right there. Abba and Ima. This is, let us use Hokmah and wisdom. And let man have Hokmah and, wisdom and understanding. Okay? That's the us. Of course, Christians, oh, that's Jesus. He was sitting there. That's how ridiculous that is. Okay? Now, if you want to look there, I tell you what, I'll go ahead and read along and get you up to where we can label these things. Okay, if you look on page 40, the essence of the Sphirot. The Sphirot are generally referred to as midot. Those were the 6 ones I was telling you about. Okay? That's how things are measured. Now, second paragraph at the very end. First, the Sphirot are lights. These things are lights. They are luminaries that serve to reveal and express God's greatness. Secondary, they're vessels. So they are a vessel that receives God's light, and then they shine it out to the vessel below it, and the vessel below it. That's why I say light overlaps. From Atzilut to Berea, we put another one on here. The Yetzirah, and if we had another one, we'd have a Siyah, and we see it's a continuum. All right? One is light, one's a vessel. What is the vessel? What is light to one is the vessel to the next one below it. That's what he's talking about there. They are lights and luminaries, and secondly, they are vessels that limit and delineate God's infinity. What are they? They are a filter system so that you can withstand the power of God. All right? Right there at footnote 26. In other words, are the Sphirot 10? They are 10 windows through which we can perceive the divinity. Last paragraph there. As mentioned, the Sphirot belong essentially to the realm of Atzilut. These things are high up. Okay? Last line on the page. The Sphirot can be characterized as 10 clear lights or windows through which the Ein Sof illuminates to the rest of creation. Now, if you'll look at the last sentence in that and the second paragraph there in the middle of the page, for it is only through this step-down process that God's light can become accessible to us and in turn allow us to reach up and communicate with Him. What's it saying? So this is the Metatronic process that steps down the power of God till we can handle it, and it's the same process that we can use to send the signal back up. Okay? Now, the array of the Sphirot. About fourth line down here. Thus, when referring to this division, the 7 lower Sphirot are called Midot, the attributes, and the 3 higher Sphirot are called the Mohin, or the brain. All right? So, let's look. We know this is the brain up here, because that's right brain, left brain. That's wisdom and understanding. And if you can ever put them together, you'll have knowledge. Okay? This one right here is Hesed. Hesed is love. This is God's right arm. Okay? Gevurot, this is, we're going to call this power. It's restraint, but really it's power. Okay? All right? The only reason they're calling it restraint is because Gevurot is constriction. It's really tight power. Okay? In the middle is Tiferet. Tiferet is beauty, but Tiferet is also a balance. It's loving and it's strong. Okay? Netzach, dominance, or we're going to say victory. If you dominate something, you're victory, right? And Hod is empathy, or we may even say he's a softie. Okay? But you got to be careful about this one, because this one can get you in trouble. You can be a little too empathetic and get caught. This is where the Satan comes in right here. He knows this is the only way you can get in. Okay? This is Yesod. This is the foundation. This is the foundation stone. This is the Even Shtia. And this is Malchut. This is the kingdom. We can call it Israel. Call it the world. Call it whatever you want. Call it the Nukva. There's a lot of different names. There's a lot of different names for these things. And we'll try to cover them. But right now, Malchut means kingdom or kingship. Because what happens when this is returned, the crown sits back on the head. See that? Boop. But it's going to come up this way because it has fallen down. Now, what happened in the garden is all of these 7 things right here were sitting right in there. Okay? Now, this is Hava, and this is the body of Adam. And this is Adam's brain. This is the Shekhinah, and this is Zeranpin. This is the son, and this is the daughter. The father, Abba, is the foundation of the daughter. And the mother crowns her son, Song of Songs, on his wedding day. All right? This is the family. You can look at it like that. What is this? The tree of life. This is grandfather, Daniel, and I saw the Ancient of Days sitting high on the throne. He was seeing a Reconpin. Okay? But it's one thing. Just one thing. I can look at individual aspects to see how God acts. This is Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. You want to know what Hashem is? This is it. Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. Yud, Hey, Vav. The Midot is the Vav. Hey. What is that? Tip of the Yud. Okay? Tip of the Yud. This is Hashem. Yah. This one's Elohim. When Elohim is on the scene, don't mess with mama. Don't mess with mama. There'll be burning bush in your yard if you ain't careful. Don't mess with her kids. Don't mess with her daughter and her son. That's Israel. Don't mess with the men and women of Israel. Don't mess with them. Mama will show up. The only thing that calms down mama is daddy. Hashem. Right? Now, this is the Midot right here. This is the Mohin. These are the spherotic structures. How long have we been going?
35 on here.
Okay, last thing. Here we go. In the Midot, when these Midot, when the potential in the mind of God, when His will manifests in creation, this one manifests. Who is that? Abraham. When it manifests in his mind and it was time to come forth, who is this? Isaac. Who is Teferet? Jacob. Who is Netzach? Moses. Who is Hod? Aaron. Who is Yesod? Joseph. And who is this? David. Messiah ben Joseph, Messiah ben David. This is the 6th day of the week. This is the 7th. 6-7, 6-7, 6-7. When you say Messiah, are you saying this one or this one? They're connected. So the secret to this is the tip of Yesod. If dirt gets on here and clogs it, and the light gets congealed, we cut it off. And that is the secret of circumcision. Cutting it off. So, the Nukva, the Malchut, which is known in Torah as the Ark, started getting klipa on it. And Noah was 600 years old. His name was Menachem, Mim, Ema, and the final Mim is this one, Menahem. Menachem. Noah is Yesod. He built an ark. Everything around the world here had to be cut off. And that was the destruction at the flood. Okay? So, everything happens like that. What is Tower of Babel? They're trying to build one of these. What is Pharaoh trying to do with Abraham? He's trying to take Sarah, take the Shekhinah. All right? Jacob, what does he have to do? Leah, Rachel. He has to take care of the two girls. Everything in Torah will fit on this. Everything. Because this is how God manifests His lights. All right? Each world has one. On and on and on and on and on. So anyway, we just a little bit further here. Page 42. We talked about Yesod being the foundation. That is right there in the middle of the page, second paragraph at the end. Yesod, foundation, lies between these two. It's talking about Netzach and Hod. In this book, they will say Netzach and Hod is right leg and left leg. It is. But it's also on the male right testicle, left testicle. On the woman, right ovary, left ovary. This is where the seed comes from. Okay? This is it. That's why circumcision of the tip of your yesod is such a big deal. Because that's where the contamination gets in. All right? Now, third paragraph. While the 6 Sefirot from Hesed to Yesod are masculine, Malchut, kingship, is female. As we see, these 6 Sefirot parallel to the Vav of the tetragram, Yud Hey Vav Hey, whereas Malchut is the Hey, Yud Hey Vav Hey, like I told y'all. Okay, all right? What is that? Rachel. That's Rachel. All right? So that is also David, as we went through. Messiah ben David. Look on page 43, second paragraph. The 7th Sefirah is represented in the life of David. He was King David. He blended all 6 masculine Sefirot to himself, and therefore was personified in the feminine Sefirot of kingship. He was able to praise God as the ultimate source of all power because he channeled everything. And therefore, it's not by chance that the Bible verse containing explicitly the mention of all the 7 lower Sefirot are. If you will look, and this is 1 Chronicles 29, 11, and 12. And if you have a Sefer Yitzrah, it will be in there too. King David says, yours, O God, are the following. Are greatness, Hesed. Restraint, Gevurot. Beauty, Teferet. Dominance, Netzach. Empathy, Hod. For all, anytime you see all in Torah, all is kol in Hebrew, always Yesod. And God spoke to Moses saying, speak to all of Israel, Yesod, Messiah ben Joseph. Okay? For all is in heaven and in earth. Earth is Malchut. Heaven is the Midot, Zah. Yours, O God, is the kingdom, and you are exalted above all. He just made, you're the top and the bottom. It's all one thing. For the power and restraint of your left, of your hand, and your greatness encourages your hand. He's talking right, left. David is working the entire Sephirotic structure. These are among the last words David ever spoke. Now, as I go through my studies with Rabbi Bax, and we go through Rav Vali, Moshe David Vali, as we go through that, and the Ari and the Leshem and all those great sage masters, every one of those guys use the Sephirotic structure and show that throughout the Torah it is only talking Sefirot. It's only talking like that. Every single time. And when you have 10 Sefirot, you have a part Suf. Now you can have a 7-part Suf, but a 10 Sefirot is a part Suf. So, what, I'm going to try to remember this, but what God will say, tell Moses. God said, say to the children of Israel. Moses spoke to Aaron and get the Kohen, get the Levite, get the Jew, get the women, get the children, get the proselyte, get the ger, get the widow, get the orphan. You know, you will find it will all fit right here. It's just perfect. All right? Every single time. That's how you study it. So the Torah is amazing and sages are amazing. So we will pick up in Innerface here. This is class 9. Let's start next time page 44. Page 44. Aight? Sound good? Yeah, let's do page 44. And then what the Innerspace does is it goes into each of the spheroid. And one of the reasons, guys, why I say you don't have any will is because will's Keter. Nobody's ever made it there. By definition. Torah's amazing. Sage are amazing. Check y'all next time, next Thursday. Bye.